Hi, welcome to this segment of Digital Discoveries. This is a show in the El Paso Independent School District where we look at all things that have to do with instructional technology. I'm Tim Holt. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology. And today is the segment we're going to look at is one of our ongoing segments about Project Share Texas. Project Share Texas is a service that's provided to all teachers and in EPISD, all students. That allows them to do all those 21st century skills that we all talk about: communicate, collaborate, and make content. So today we're going to look at something called groups in Project Share. So we're going to assume that you've been watching our shows before and you already know how to log into Project Share, you know how to get your Project Share account, and that you know how to get to the portal. The portal is the very first screen that you see once you log into Project Share. And so today we're going to talk about what groups are and how to actually even make a group. So within Project Share you can create groups, and the way to think about groups is kind of like, what are your friends? Most everybody is familiar with Facebook. So you know in Facebook how you get your friends in Facebook. A group in Project Share is very similar to friends in Facebook. You can use groups for lots of different purposes. You can use it for your classes, to group your classes together and have them do content online. Administrators can use groups with other administrators. For instance, all secondary assistant G&I assistant principals could have a group in Project Share. And you can also use Project Share groups for professional development. In our department, for instance, we did a book study using a group in Project Share, and that was an example of how we could use the tool that we have available to create a professional development opportunity. So I'm going to go to the computer here now, and we're going to show how to first search for groups, and then we're going to show you how to set up a group, how very easy it is. So in Project Share, this is my portal. This is where I always pop in, and this is where you would pop in. You'd pop into your portal, of course, not my portal. And say you're interested in connecting and getting friends or looking for groups that have to do with whatever your interests are in education. So Project Share actually has a search built in, and that's up here at the very top of the page. So once you log in, you can actually go to search, and you can search Project Share for all the people in Project Share, the courses that might be available, institutions. But we're interested today in looking at groups. We're looking at the Project Share groups that are available. And so let's find something. I'm going to look for, in my case, I'm going to look for ELAR, which is English Language Arts and Reading Group. So I'm going to look in all of Project Share for groups that have to do with English Language Arts and Reading. That's the acronym. Now, it's just like anything else. Sometimes you might type in an acronym, or you might type in something, you might not get as many responses back. And so the way to fix that is to go back and do the search, but with different terms that mean the same thing. So I'm looking for ELAR groups in Project Share. And so all I have to do is click on search, and then what happens is, hopefully, we have some groups show up. And sure enough, I've got quite a few groups in Project Share that have to do with English Language Arts and Reading. So I'm going to use one as an example, and let's click on this one here. So this one here has 167 members in it, and so this may be something that people in EPISD may not actually be using. I know in EPISD we don't use C-Scope as our curriculum management system, but this is an example of how you might want to set up a group. But you would say, instead of a C-Scope ELAR, you'd set up an EPISD, an Eduphoria ELAR group. And so this is the name of the group, C-Scope ELAR, to hold discussions with those using C-Scope curriculum with elementary language arts. Then you have how many members are in this group. In this particular group, there's 167 members. That's a pretty good sized group. And then it has the person that actually started the group. You can actually go back and click on that person to find out more about them. And then it has how you can get into that group. You can either click to join that group. It looks like they'll let anybody into that group. That's kind of cool. Sometimes you have to be invited to the group, like the one that's two above that. Sometimes it's just a group for people that are in that particular institution. So say, for instance, in EPISD, we wanted to set up a group for just EPISD elementary science coaches. Well, we could do that, and we could set it up as an institution-only group, and only EPISD elementary science coaches would be allowed into that group. But really, when you're setting up groups, unless you have a very, very specific reason for that group to not be open to everybody, it's actually better to open it up to everybody, because you have so many people in Project Share, and you want them to add to that conversation. So let's look for one more group, just for grins here. And let's type in instructional technology, because that's where we're at. That's what we do in my department. So I type in instructional technology, and make sure you spell it right, or correctly. And I'm going to do a search here. And there's quite a few groups for instructional technology. If you look, there's actually 9 pages of groups. Well, I'm really kind of interested in the groups that have the most members in it. So I want to click here, and I click on members. And in a second, what should happen is it comes up with a list of the groups with the most members in it. Well, I just happen to have a group that's got 572 members in it, and this is for instructional technology administrators, and this is a group that's open to people all over the state of Texas. So in my group, and I'm not showing this to toot my own horn, that's certainly not the case. What I'm showing you this is that you can set up a group, and you can have a lot of members from all over join that group. And so I set up this group for instructional technology administrators, and as of this morning, there's 572 members in my group, and that's from all over the place. So I can click on that group, and then we'll see what happens. Once I click on it, it should take me to the web page for that group. Once you make a group, you'll have a web page automatically created in Project Share. Now, of course, I had to add that content, otherwise you just get a blank page. But you can see that in this group we have a video that we could play. Over on the right-hand side, there's some freebies that people can download. And lots of groups have lots of freebies. So just because you may not be in the Region 20 ELAR C-Scope group, check it out anyway, because they might have some material that's available to you. Let me real quick show you how to make a group. It's a very easy process to do. Click on groups. When you go back to your portal in Project Share, and the easiest way to do that, to create a group, all you got to do is create a group. And you just click on that. It asks you for your name. You have to fill out some information about it. What's the group name? What's the description? What are some keywords? And the reason you have keywords in a group is for people that want to search your group. So say, for instance, in my group, I might put EPISD, I might put in science, I might put in technology, I might put in those things that people are looking for in that group. Then it asks me how to do the registration. Is it me inviting only people to my group? Is it open to anybody that can join this group? That group that I showed you that had 500 people in it, I open it up to anyone, so anyone can join that group and become part of that conversation. I don't like to have like very specific groups. So you just fill in the groups, you just fill them in. It's one of those things, so it's a step-by-step process where you like start off and you just fill in the blanks. It's kind of like a wizard. You just, well, what's the group name? What's the description? Who joins my group? Those are the kinds of things that you want to fill in when you're creating your group. There's lots and lots of groups on Project Share, and don't give up if your group doesn't have a lot of members in it. That's okay. What you want to do is you want to start off small, maybe just have the first grade teachers in your campus, or maybe the primary teachers, or maybe the science teachers. Start off small, experiment with the group. You cannot break Project Share, I promise. You cannot break it, so experiment with it. And invite people into your group, see what happens. I almost guarantee you that if you keep the group up and you keep it going, that it'll become a successful group. Where groups fail and where web pages fail and lots of these types of Web 2.0 items fail is when people start something but they don't keep using it, or they don't keep adding to that conversation. So let me leave you with this thought. Most people are familiar with groups in Facebook. Almost everybody's familiar with a group in Facebook. So what could you do with a group in Project Share? How could you use that in your classroom? Thanks for joining me for this segment of EPISD's Digital Discoveries. We'll see you next time.